If you remember the 60s and the folk music of that time, then there are a couple of names and songs that'll have you saying, I know that song. My next guest wrote Green Green, which was a hit for the New Christy Minstrels. Now, he was mentioned by name in a song recorded by the Mamas and the Papas. However, he's perhaps most famous for a song he recorded called Eve of Destruction. He lived in New Zealand in the 1980s. Any idea? If you're thinking Barry McGuire, you are right. Well, I met up with Barry in England and we chatted. It's hard to believe he was 75 when we recorded this, full of life, and shared some wonderful stories. I began by asking him why at 75 he was still singing.
I was born to sing. I can't help it. I sing in the supermarket. Embarrasses my wife. Used to embarrass my children. She doesn't get so much embarrassed anymore. She just carries on without me, But I just love singing. It's just. In fact, I just read that even when we're at home alone, we should hum because it releases endorphins within us, and it's good for us. It creates stem cells within us. And it doesn't even have to be a melody. Just hoo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo, boom, 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 anything. Just make a joyful noise.
I know that one.
You know that one?
That was a good song, yeah.
Doo-doo-doo-doo, yeah. And I've been doing it because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel happy when I sing.
So for how many of your 75 years have you been really singing?
I was a late starter. I didn't start till I was about 25 years old. I was putting in overhead fire sprinkling systems in buildings like this. And I went to a little club one time in Laguna Beach, California, a coffee house called the Frankenstein Cafe. And I walked in and there was a guy over in the corner singing folk songs. And it just mesmerized me, just resonated. I thought, oh, I got to learn how to do that. And the following week I bought a guitar. I learned how to play a C chord, A minor, F, and a G. And those 4 chords, you can play 10,000 songs to those 4 chords, 26 miles across the sea, Santa Catalina is waiting for me. I mean, my first song I ever learned, Blue Moon, you saw me standing alone, same 4 chords, without a dream in my heart, So I learned those 4 chords, and within 2 months, I had a job offer. And I only knew about 5 songs. And the guy says, I was singing at a birthday party, and he heard me. And a few nights later, his piano player was sick in this little club down in Santa Monica, and he called me on the phone, can you come and sing? I said, well, I don't know about 5 songs. He said, just do what you did at the birthday party the other night. I'll give you $50 cash. Well, this is back in, 1961 or something like that. I mean, that's a lot of money in 61. It's more money I was making all day long as a pipe fitter. And I thought, well, I'll be right down. So I went down, had a great time. I made $70 in tips. He gave me $50 in cash. He says, come back next week, I'll give you $100. I'll be back. So I bought a Kingston Trio album and a Harry Belafonte album. And I learned about 8 more songs. And went back the following week, and just people would come in, club owners would come in, hear me sing. Well, what are you doing on Wednesday night? Oh, nothing. Well, would you like to sing in my club in Beverly Hills? Sure. So I'd go sing there, and other club owners would come in. And first thing I knew, a guy named Randy Sparks came in and said, we're putting a group together called the New Christy Minstrels. And we're going to have a lot of fun and make a lot of money. And would you like to be in the group? I said, fun, money? Absolutely. So I went in the Christies and wrote a song, was green, green is green, they say, on the far side of the hill. I wrote that with Randy one afternoon, and we recorded it. It became our first hit song. Then I had a big hit here in England. Maybe you guys remember 3 Wheels on My Wagon? Remember that? I'm still rolling along. That wasn't too big.
You're dealing with a camera crew and a
They were
studio.
even born then.
Exactly. Because the thing was, I said that Barry McGuire is coming. And those under 40 said, who?
Who, yeah.
And those over 40 said...
Is he still alive?
That's the guy that did Eve of Destruction.
I did that, yeah.
Are you sick of it?
Eve, no, I still sing it. The song is more valid today than it was 45 years ago when I first recorded it, I mean, here, listen to the words. I'll sing some of it. It's like this. How the Eastern world, it is exploding violence flaring, bullets loading. You're old enough to kill, just started voting. You don't believe in war. What's that gun you toting? And even the Jordan River has bodies floating. And you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, saying you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Hell, I know you understand what I was trying to say. I know you feel the fears I'm still feeling today. When the button is pushed, there'll be no running away, while there'll be no one to save with the world in a grave. Take a look around you, boy. It's bound to scare you, boy. And you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, saying you don't believe we're still on the eve of destruction. I changed this last verse later. Well, think of all the hate still living inside us. It's never too late to let love guide us. How we can leave here for 10 years in space, but when we return, it's the same old place. The pounding of the drums, the pride and disgrace. We can bury our dead and don't leave a trace. Hey, our next door neighbor, but don't forget to say grace. And tell me over and over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're still on the eve of destruction. That was the killer line, hate your next door neighbor. Don't forget to say grace. It just points out the hypocrisy of everybody. Materialist hypocrisy, government hypocrisy, political, industrial, social hypocrisy, spiritual hypocrisy. And the song was filled with all those things, but no answers.
Isn't it kind of sad that 40 years later you're still singing it and it still is real?
It's more real now than it was then. There's more bodies floating in the Jordan River now than were floating back in 19... There's more people being violently murdered per minute as we sit here drinking our coffee in this lovely studio than were being violently murdered per minute in 1965 when the song... There's more social unrest, there's more racial tension, there's more political mistrust. It's grinding down rather than building up. I thought, if we could just, they said it was a protest song, but it wasn't protesting anything. It was a diagnostic. I mean, if you take your car to a mechanic and say, something's wrong with my car, and he puts it on the machine, a diagnostic machine, and he comes back, he says, well, your engine's falling out. Well, you don't go tell everybody he's a protest mechanic. He's just diagnosed your engine, your problems. Well, the song was a diagnostic of societal hypocrisy, and I thought if we could at least admit we had a problem, like hate your next door neighbor, but don't forget to say grace, well, then we might be able to come up with an answer, to turn the other cheek and to love your enemies. You don't hear that preached much these days, to love your enemies. Love those who violate you and murder you and mistreat you, treat them with kindness,
Do you think that folk singing as a genre of music is still good?
I think it will always be good. Folk songs are songs that... Here, let me do a song here. This is a song I just learned recently. And do we have enough time? Are we doing okay? I love this song. This is a song I heard on my son's iPod. This is not a 60s song. This song is probably an 80s song, But let's just listen. I'll just sing some of it. I won't sing the whole thing. But I love it. You only see what your eyes want to see. How can life be what you want it to be? You're frozen, yeah, when your heart's not open. What's the next verse? You're so concerned with how much you can get. Waste your days on hate and regret. You're frozen, yeah, when your heart's not open. I mean, that's heavy truth, Love is a bird and she's got to fly. Let all the pain inside of you die. You're frozen when your heart's not open. There ain't no need in placing the blame. Don't Don't you know we all suffer the same? You're frozen, up in your heart's not open. Big hit song, you know. I mean, in America it was. I don't know if it made over here. You know, a young lady named Madonna recorded it, and it was a huge international hit. But the words, you know, you're so concerned with how much you can get, you know. Waste your days on hate and regret. You're frozen when your heart's not open. When I heard those words, it was the Spirit of God speaking to me. Barry, you're so concerned, Barry, with how much you can get. You waste your days on hate and regret. There's no need in placing the blame. Don't you know we all suffer the same? You're frozen when your heart's not open.
You haven't always been a Christian, have you?
No. In fact, I can't even call myself a Christian now. You know, I mean, to me, that would be like calling myself a humble. You know, somebody come and say, well, you're such a humble guy. So you go say, oh, yeah, I'm a humble guy. You know, yeah, everybody knows I'm humble. They all tell me I'm a humble guy. So,
okay, so
I go to the Church of Humility. We're all humbles over there. See? See, it's okay. Somebody else can call you humble, but you can't call yourself humble.
Okay, so what do you call yourself then?
I'm a disciple of Christ. You know, I know that I live, move, breathe, have my being in Christ, and it's no longer I that live, but it's Christ that lives in me. I have no agenda. I have no mountains to climb. I have nothing to build, nothing to hide, nothing to gain, nothing to lose. I'm just like a window, you know, a port through which God can flow or not flow. You know, I was on the airplane the other day. I was thinking that I'm a sorcerer, not a sorcerer.
A saucer, like a cup and saucer.
A sorcerer, like the source from which everything came.
Okay, got it. Yep.
See, from the source of all that is. You know, everything came out of nothing. Science says. I read this in a book the other day. Therefore, nothing must be something because everything came out of it. But we don't know what to call it, so we call it nothing. Well, I know what the great nothing is that everything came out of. It lives in my heart. You know, and that's the source of all things. And I thought, I want to be a sorcerer. And I thought, ooh, that sounds like a sorcerer. I don't want to be a sorcerer. You know, what's the difference between a sorcerer and a sorcerer? Well, a sorcerer has no agenda. A sorcerer is just a porthole. It's like a fire hose without a nozzle. Just poof, the water flows through it. It goes everywhere, wherever it wants to go. You know, it has no agenda, no desire of its own. It's an open portal through which God flows. A sorcerer is like a fire hose with a nozzle on it. And a sorcerer is somebody who uses the gospel to build his own kingdoms, to build his own agenda, to build his own denominations, his own networks and systems, and blah, 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 you know. He's wheeling and dealing for God, you know. And that's where Christ says, many will come and say, Lord, Lord. And he said, I'm sorry. You know, you used me, but you didn't know me. I never knew you. We were never, our relationship was never. See, a lot of people are committed to Christ, you know, and there's a difference between surrender and commitment. You know, when you're engaged to somebody, you're committed. I mean, you love them, you're faithful to them, you lay down your life for them, but at the end of the day, you go home alone because you're only engaged. But when you marry someone, you're surrendered, and you go into the bridal chamber, and you consummate your relationship, and the two become one. You know, and many people are engaged to Christ. Many people are committed to Christ, but they've never surrendered. They've never said, not my will, but thy will be done, you know.
So how do you know that you've surrendered to Christ?
How do you know? Okay, when anything can happen to you and it doesn't bother you. When people can cut in front of you in traffic, crowd you out of a line, call you names, you know. When you can meet people and not judge them. We can just look people in the eye and know that they've been forgiven. You know that everybody in the world's been forgiven? How many people did Christ die for? Everybody, the entire world. God so loved the Christians that he gave his only begotten son. No, God so loved the world. He died for every human being that ever has lived, is living now, or ever. Now the tragedy is that so few people, so few of them know about it. They don't know they've been forgiven. And how are they going to know they've been forgiven if they hear nothing but condemnation streaming from our lips and judgment burning from our eyes? You know, it's not up to us to forgive people. That Christ has already forgiven them. God judged them. Christ's sacrifice forgave him. And our mandate is what? To love one another, to love each other, not to judge. How dare I judge anyone that Christ died to forgive?
Barry, when you... I I'm agreeing with you. There's a hallelujah and an amen there, I can promise you that. Over the years, have you seen a change towards Christianity in your travels?
I've seen it become less and less relevant in the world we live in, because it's almost like the name of Jesus has become an enemy to the person of Christ, because so many acts of greed and self-grandizement and empire building, so many acts of hypocrisy have been perpetrated in the name of Jesus, that when people hear his name, all of this comes up in their mind, all the acts that go on in his name, and they go, oh yeah, Jesus, that Jesus crap, and they don't hear another word you have to say. See? So that's why I wrote a song called Cosmic Cowboy. I was talking with Mike Nesmith one time, and he says, too bad you can't write a song about Jesus that will allow people to catch a glimpse of him the way you see him, before they know who they're actually looking at.
Mike Nesmith, the Monkees guy.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Okay, sing
yeah.
it.
Well, I won't sing it all, because it's just a long song, but it says, it's just a cowboy song, sitting around the fire in the evening, looking up at the stars, and one old cowboy reaches over and picks up his guitar, and he starts strumming a few chords, and he says, I met a cosmic cowboy. He's riding a starry range. He's a supernatural plowboy. You know, he's dressed up kind of strange. At first, hey, I didn't even see him, man. I mean, I was out there on the run. But that old hat that he's wearing, it's shining brighter than the sun. Yeah, and when my eyes adjusted to the flashing of his smile, you know, I saw his invitation. He's saying to me, come on, Barry. Hey, you and I, we'll go riding for a while. Well, we did. We rode along together more than half a day. Right out through the change in weather, the sky was all turning gray, and the chilly winds were blowing. Man, the cold was cutting deep. Then it started snowing. Trail was getting steep. I was just about to turn around, head on back down the way we came. Somehow, without a sound, I heard him call my name. And looking up, I saw he was high up on this ridge. And you know, he took me by my arm and he led me right over to the edge. Man, I was so scared I couldn't find a single word to say. I mean, there's 10,000 feet of empty air that's just about an inch away. But a million miles are out beyond the waving of his hand. I was looking through his eyes, right into another land. He said, this is my father's ranch. Yeah, just as far as you can see. Said he made it out of nothing. Every branch, every tree. Made all the stars and the mountains, the rivers and streams. Oh, he made the oceans, the fountains. Oh, yeah, and he made the valley of your dreams. That's right, he said, I know that place you've been looking for. I know that place where each and every one of you long to be. The truth is, he said, I'm the only door. You're going to have to pass right through me. Well, bending back, I tipped my hat, you know, so I could look her in the eye, but he just smiled and he gave me confidence. He said, go ahead and try. Man, it was now or never. I knew I had to start. So I took that first step. Oh, and I went falling right into his heart. And the first thing that I noticed coming out inside, hey, all my fears had washed away. He's teaching me I can fly. Ooh. Yeah, there's a cosmic cowboy. And he rides a starry range. He's a supernatural plowboy. He's dressed up kind of strange. And to think we nearly missed him, all of us, out there on the run. With that old hat that he's wearing, shining brighter than the sun. And when my eyes adjusted to the flashing of his smile, I saw his invitation. He said, come on, Barry. We'll go riding for a while. Cowboy of the light, shooting his rainbow through the night, that's right. He's my cowboy of the light, shooting his rainbow through the night. What is that rainbow? Come on now. Hey, cowboy of the light, shooting his rainbow. A golden rainbow, eternal rainbow through the night. is a promise.
What did Mike Nesmith say when he heard that?
I don't know if he ever heard it. We don't see each other that often.
It's a great song.
No, it is a great song. It's my story. It's my testimony. It's a poetic attempt to catch. I mean, I've had preachers go on, rent time on the radio and say, let me say this, Jesus is not, I say, is not a cosmic cowboy. And they miss the whole thing. Jesus is not a chicken with feathers in his wings, you know. Jesus is not a lamb bleating around the hills of Galilee. He's not even a shepherd. He was a carpenter. I mean, these are just poetic attempts. How do you capture eternal majesty and put it into these clunky things we use to communicate with each other, words? You know, you can't. You can't put nonlinear reality into words, you know. The source of the universe, the speaker of substance, put it into words so that, you know, I mean, it's beyond our, the universe is expanding. What's it expanding into? Ever think about that? The stars, it's getting bigger and bigger, right? As we sit here, and the further away the stars are, the faster they're rushing away from us. And actually, they get so far away and they're exceeding so quick, fast, they're going away from us faster than the light can get back to us, and they leave our realm of observation. They go invisible, but they're still out there. They're still, well, what are they expanding into? And how far does that go? How big is big, you know?
When you get a chance to speak with people, do you find that they are happy to hear what you have to say?
Only if they ask me. I don't tell them anything unless they ask me. Unless a person asks the right question, you can't give them the right answer. You know, unless a person's hungry, you can't feed them. You know, unless they come, like Nicodemus came to Christ, and he'd heard Nicodemus speak many times in parables. Christ always spoke parables. He never gave the pure meat of the gospel out in the street. And the disciples could never understand, what are you talking? You're going to read from the Farmer's Almanac? Or are you going to tell them the Gospels? You know, he says, oh, I only speak parables when I'm in the street. Well, why? Because if they heard the truth, they would turn from their sin. You know, well, did you ever think about that scripture? What does that mean? You know, because it would be the wrong motive.
Yes, because it does seem contradictory, doesn't it?
But it's not. When you think of the love, and they would turn, or they would reject it. Because he knew they were going to reject it, he didn't say anything. You know, they'd ask him a question, he wouldn't say anything, because he knew that if he told them the fullness of truth, they would reject it. Then they would be responsible for having rejected the fullness of truth. To him, much is given, much is required. To whom little is given, little is required. So because he loved them, he spoke in parables. And only the truth seekers heard the truth in those parables. The self-seekers didn't hear what he had to say.
So music is not unlike that, because it can be seen as a parable. The Cosmic Cowboy song
is a parable, yes. I love, you know, everything I sing is like, and the Gospels itself are parables. Are you know, just full of allegories. And when I apply what I read, whether it's in the Old Testament, the New Testament, it's me. It's my life. You know, the battle isn't with the heretics out there. The battle is with the heretics that live within me. You know, the holy war, the jihad that we hear about these days is not to kill the infidels out there. It's to kill the infidels that live within me. You know? And Christ said, how can you help a brother get a splinter out of his eye when your eyes are filled with beams and logs? First get the beams and logs out of your own eyes, then you can help your brother maybe get the splinter out of his eye. And so for the last 20 years, I've been saying, well, Lord, search me, O God, and see if there's any beams and logs in me. Ooh, and are there ever? You know, and they come up roaring. I mean, they're monsters living in me. You know, but every time, you know, and God creates situations, and this thing will come roaring up out of me, whatever it is, indignity, pride, greed, how come he's getting more than I'm getting? Who do they think? Don't they know who I am? You know, all this. And when I see that, it's so ugly. And God says, now you see that's not the situation. That's what's living in you, Barry. That lives in me all the time. See, so God creates, I'm convinced everything that happens to every one of us happens for the express purpose of God is trying to reveal to us what's living in within us. When we judge somebody, oh, look at that guy, you know, hey, that's not Christ. That's the egoic, onboard Satan that lives within every one of us. That's the old man still grumbling around in there. I was sitting on death row. Over a 10-year period, I lost 16 of my friends through drug overdose, suicide, sexually transmitted diseases. 16 of my friends. If I named them, you'd know over half of them because they were international superstars, you know? And so there I am sitting on death row with my number in my hand, waiting for them to call my number. I mean, 16 of my friends, their number had been called. They went down the corridor to pay the piper. And I'm sitting there, and I looked down on the floor one day. This is a parable. This is, you know, not artistic license to, you know.
I'm with you, Barry.
I looked down, and there's a little piece of paper, and I picked it up. It's written in blood. Written in blood. Royal pardon. Barry McGuire, sins paid for in full. Jesus Christ. Signed. And I've got a pardon in one hand and a number in the other. And that's for every person listening to this program right now. They've got a pardon in one hand and a number in the other. Now, what am I going to do? Throw the pardon away and wait for him to call my number? Hey, I'm a high school dropout. I didn't get my high school diploma, but I'm smarter than that. I threw the number away and took that pardon, royal pardon, signed by Christ, tucked it into my heart. And when I looked up, the door was gone. There was no door in the cell. When I stood up, there were no walls. And I walked out, just walked away, free, forgiven, eternal, born again, a new creation. Still had a lot of beams and logs in me, but I had title deed to the fullness of the land, you know? We can get into a whole teaching thing on.
And that's available for everybody.
For everybody.
Right now.
Everybody has that right now in their grasp. They've got a pardon with their name on it. They've got a number. And it's going to be called one of these days. That number will be called, you know. And when this protoplasmic blob falls dead on the floor, the entity that was birthed back in 1971 within it will return to the Father that created it, you know? Just as sure as you're me and I'm you.
Barry McGuire, so nice to meet you, so nice to talk with you. Thank you for joining us.
My honor to be here.
Yeah. We've loved having him here at our place. We hope you enjoyed having Barry McGuire at your place.
Thank you.
You're so tall.